Okay, today is just a short, I thought I would just talk about a few more things about innovation, kind of review. I think I would do this in a normal class situation and you know, keep emphasizing certain elements of what you're trying to do for the task. So I've got a couple more relatively, I think, interesting videos to show you, and I'll just make some highlights from them. It'll be a short class. It'll be like 25 minutes, I think, today. So first, just an overview again of the difference between product and process innovation. And Jim will help us out. I wish Jim wrote the book. He's better than the book. You know, it's a review a little bit. Product and process. Product versus process. You should be familiar with this now.
Let's just take a couple of minutes to explore what we mean by the concept of innovation, and in particular to make a distinction between the two main types of innovation in a business. Product innovation. This involves the launching of new or better, improved products, and don't forget those can include services as well as goods.
Of course, you know, you have the choice about your goods and service. Are you really introducing, so yogurt, let's say yogurt. They have this kind of yogurt, which is called Greek yogurt. I don't really know how it's different in terms of how they make the yogurt. It does taste different. It's more sour. I guess it's healthier. It has more, I don't know, it has quite a bit of flavor. It's okay. Is that a new product though? It might be. You might see it as when you're developing your marketing as a new product. Or you might see it as competing with the old product, but it would really depend on what the consumer perception of it is. Is it perceived as something different or similar? So that would, I mean, you know, that would be, go to levels of like, you know, ice cream, right? We have our ice cream, we have our packaged ice cream, and then we have the scoops, our classic scoopy kind of ice cream that we put in a cone, and then we have the soft ice cream, you know, the one from the machine. It goes, it's a soft version. Then we have yogurt ice cream, and then we have some Italian ice. So you have all these different kinds of ice creams. Are you introducing a new kind of ice cream to the market, or are you competing with people's perception of the brands and the styles that they already know? And this would determine a little bit about how you decide to use your your marketing mix, that is.
And process innovation, which is all about finding better, improved, more efficient ways of the processes that are involved in delivering products or delivering services. To illustrate the concept, let's look first at product innovation. What are the main benefits of a business that can be effective as a product innovator?
This is I think I talked before about the people who come up with innovations or inventions, and then people who popularize them. There are two sides to this. The first side is the first mover advantage. So if you're a first mover advantage and you have identified your market well, and you understand your target market, and you understand what it is that you're providing them in terms of features and benefits, how to communicate to them, how they will buy the product, how much they're willing to pay for it. If you're able to do good market research and you are the first one in the market, you have what is called the first mover advantage, which means that you get to use skim pricing. You might be able to get higher prices, right? Because you get the early adopters, those people who are interested in getting that new product first. Greater perceived added value because it's something new that people didn't really think about. If you're good at it, if you really meet your customers' needs, then you can build up a loyal customer base before other competitors can get into the market. And you will get your reputation as somebody cutting edge and fresh and new on the scene. And that, I guess you have to keep innovating after that to keep that perception. And you should be able to establish a pretty strong market share early in the introduction of the product to the market. So you have a lot of advantages. So on the one side, you could have first mover advantage if you're good at understanding your market. On the other hand, if your timing is wrong, if you haven't figured out, exactly your timing in terms of, the customer is ready for that product, they're willing to understand it. The old ways of doing things they're not so strong, they can be changed. Take the drying machine, for example. I mean, is there some other benefit that people get from putting the washing up on the drying line? Is it a personal satisfaction that you wouldn't get from the dryer? Or the people who use the dryer, their perception in Vietnam is that you put it in the dryer and then you hang it on the line? And so they have to do two things instead of one. So if you can't communicate to them how it's going to be a benefit, you might miss the chance. That would be a timing and also communication issue. If the positioning in the market is wrong, if the customer perceives the product is not adding enough value that price is relevant, if the way that you promote it requires additional information that can only be given in a shop, people want to order online, then your distribution and promotion might not flow together correctly. So a lot of innovators, or this first mover advantage, if you don't really understand your market, is not an advantage, right? Then the second, the following competitors can learn from your mistakes and take advantage of what you did wrong when you entered the market. So, but if you're good, first mover advantage is definitely huge.
Well, this is linked to a concept called first mover advantage. Although that doesn't mean that if you're not the first mover, you can't be product innovative. However, the first or the early innovators in a market can often gain an advantage. Customers adopt the product relatively early, they start to become loyal to it, they perceive greater added value, and as a consequence, they are prepared in many situations to pay a higher price for this perceived added value. And done well and done consistently, a business with a reputation for product innovation will build a reputation generally for innovation, which is likely to lead in the long term to a greater market share. Lots of potential benefits if you can innovate products, although there's no guarantee that you'll be able to do so or you'll be able to continue to sustain that reputation. Process innovation, as we mentioned, is a slightly different thing. It's about understanding how you can innovate in the business processes that are required to deliver the products, the goods and the services. So it's about finding ways of making higher quality a constant in the business, or to be able to be more efficient or more flexible in terms of operations, and as a consequence of that, potentially reducing unit costs. And this idea of flexibility is a particularly important part of process innovation. On the screen there, I've mentioned one example of a fashion retailer which has a particular reputation for effective process innovation, where the business's processes are designed around being highly flexible, responding to customers' needs as the fashion season develops, rather than committing to a wide number of products and clothes right at the start of the season. It's a great example of process innovation in action. Well, if a business can be innovative, either or both product and process, it clearly leads to a series of potential business benefits. Not the least, that it can help build a brand, a reputation for innovation, which may then itself lead to an ability to charge a higher price and earn a higher profit margin. But don't forget the other side of the coin. With process innovation, it may lead to improved productivity, greater efficiency, and thereby enabling the business to reduce its unit costs, which in some situations may enable it to compete more effectively on price. When you look at innovation, and hopefully when you come across your studies of organisational culture, look out for the businesses that place innovation as a key part of their organisational culture, because you'll often find that those are also highly successful businesses with competitive advantages in the marketplace. So there we go, that's just an introduction to the two main types of innovation: product innovation and process innovation.
Alright, so just a little starting point, and I wanted to make that focus. And this video is about if you're trying to, maybe some of the challenges of trying to enter a market with the information that you have about your present market, maybe a developing market, where a company that's from a developed country. So this is like a Nike shoe, and let's imagine creating products for emerging markets. That's another way of saying developing. We're talking about emerging. You're emerging from where? I don't know, but you are emerging from the darkness, the depths. So this is, I don't know, you may or may not agree with this one, but it's a question being put forward. There's really no way to take a product created for a American market and then have it work in India. Basically, that's what they're saying. Is that true? I don't know.
No way to take a product created for, say, the American mass market. Maybe it's really no way to take a product created for, say, the American mass market, make a few changes, and make it work for the Indian mass market. But that hasn't stopped multinationals from trying. That's the model global companies have followed for decades. To appeal to customers in emerging markets, they water down products designed for developed markets. However, a better way is for global companies to develop brand new, cost-effective products inside the countries where they'll actually be used. For example, General Electric developed several medical devices in emerging markets that were a little simpler and a lot less expensive. In China, they developed a compact, portable ultrasound machine from scratch. It cost just $15,000, compared with over $100,000 for their high-end model. Although it didn't have all the bells and whistles, it was a hit in China's rural clinics. That's when GE realized that American doctors could use it too, not to compete with a more expensive product, but for new uses, in situations where portability was important or space was tight. This is what Vijay Govindarajan and Chris Trimble call reverse innovation. Not
reverse innovation? They're making up new stories. I think that's reverse innovation is like an innovation on the concept of innovation, which is, that's what most business writers try to do, right? Is in order for them to sell books, they have to have a competitive advantage. They have to have a new idea. So if you have the 4 Ps, the next book will be the 5th P. What is it? And eventually we get to 7 Ps, and then if it goes to 8 Ps, it starts to get ridiculous. So there's kind of a limit on how much you can keep going with these things. But they're saying reverse innovation, in this case, was something that they found, obviously in some emerging economies, the cost of very expensive medical equipment would be an issue. So not every province or not every hospital and every part of a country would be able to afford certain kinds of medical equipment. So they made a cheaper version of this medical equipment that would be useful for at least initial diagnoses or some kind of smaller scale use, not so technical or not for bigger cases. And it helped a lot of people, and it was a lot cheaper, 6 times cheaper, more than 6 times cheaper than the one that they sold in the hospitals in the US. And then they found that this product, because of its portability, could also be useful in emerging emergency situations in the US. So they're calling that reverse innovation. Let's make something that's useful in a market that's different from ours and then bring it back to that our home market and use it for other purposes. This occurs to me, there's something called the electric car. The death of the electric car. There was a movie. The electric car with battery power was invented something like 40 or 50 years ago. And what happened is a company bought a car company bought the electric car company. It made sense, right? Acquisition. Big car company buys new, innovative startup company for electric cars so they can have the technology and then share all these electric cars with us. It never happened. It never happened because they buried they bought the patents and then they buried them because they wanted to keep selling the normal high-priced cars. So they just got rid of the thing that might help our environmental problems today because they were selfish. And so that also happened very recently in the coronavirus. About 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I just saw a case where they came up with a new ventilation machine that would be much cheaper than the one that they have now, and it would also be effective. And so a big company bought the ventilator company that made the innovation and then killed the innovation so they could continue to sell the expensive ventilators and make huge profits, meanwhile killing the potential competition, meanwhile killing the possibly disruptive technological innovation. So, yeah, this idea of reverse innovation is good, but there's people who are trying to fight and protect their markets. And sometimes their protection of the markets will try to kill innovation in that market. And they will fight, we don't want these new, weird, Chinese, foreign products. Our American-made ventilators are the best. We don't need foreign, but now they do. They really do. So anyway, it's a concept called reverse innovation.
Not only does it result in products that address market needs in emerging economies, it also creates new sales opportunities in developed ones. Reverse innovation can be tough to pull off, but there are 2 reasons to try. First, because emerging markets have larger populations and lower per capita GDPs, they're especially sensitive to many of the forces affecting competition in global markets today. Products built for emerging markets are more likely to be well suited to issues that ultimately affect every market. Second, as emerging market companies grow, they'll be looking to export their own products, often at much lower prices, which incumbent firms will find tough to beat. Practicing reverse innovation today will help protect incumbent firms from being disrupted by low-cost competitors tomorrow.
All right, from the Harvard Business Review. Okay, yeah. I have one more little video, since it's like half an hour today. We're not going to do a long one because tomorrow I gotta go into our next subject. Our next subject will be to go backwards. We have to go backwards because we needed to go forward so we could do a task, because we don't have any way to do tests, and I know your dream is to be able to do tests, and I wish that I could fulfill your dreams. Anyway, our next couple weeks we're going to go through acquisitions and mergers, which is how businesses enter new markets, and strategic alliances, how they can work together with local companies when they enter a new market. Now that would have been slightly useful for this task, but I'm focusing on your marketing at this point. And innovation. So we'll worry about that in the exam question sometime. And then after that we have to do change management for a few weeks, and we have 1 week of diversity, but I'm also going to have exam question practice at the end of the month, and we'll do more exam. I'll give you a couple more during the month, but at the end of the month, we'll have heavy exam practice with the questions, because I think we still need to, at the very least, we'll have 5% for the first task, 10% for this task, and the exam will probably be worth 15 or 20%. So that means we'll have 35% of our marks probably for the first semester, and then we're going to have a big second semester, unfortunately. But I think this is going to be true for all the different schools that study our curriculum, those in China, Malaysia, Singapore, and Africa. So, one more thing today. This is about business model innovation again. Maybe it'll give you some more insights and ideas into some, maybe it'll inspire you to have another idea. So, it's a pretty good video.
Have you ever wondered why hyper-successful companies like Nokia or Kodak suddenly lose their edge? Or how could firms like...
Okay, two there, Nokia, which we already know, and Kodak. Kodak, how did they lose their edge? If you remember, Kodak is what? Kodak's a company that makes cameras, right? Film and cameras. How did they lose their edge? They lost their edge because they couldn't follow the digital camera revolution.
Commodore computers, Grundig, Nakamichi, Newsweek, or Polaroid possibly failed? Did they not have abundant R&D resources, top employees, and profound knowledge of their markets? Yes. But they had another thing in common. They all missed the moment when they should have left their successful path to rethink their business model. They missed...
That's timing, right? They missed the moment when they needed to rethink their business model.
Doubt on radical innovation because they were too busy managing daily business and serving current clients instead of envisioning future opportunities. In other words, today's success is the enemy of tomorrow's success. The innovation cycle spins faster than ever in nearly all industries. Innovation either increases the customer value of a product or service, or it lowers their costs, and therefore creates a competitive advantage. Apple, for instance, creates a high perceived customer value with its innovative new products, and Dell reduces its costs and working capital through build-to-order processes. But even though its importance is undisputed,
okay, let me talk about Dell for a second. What is Dell? Dell is a computer company. I don't know if they're still, I don't know what their market share is now. But what Dell did, and it was very different from its competitors, was it's, instead of having a process where they made computers, put them in boxes, sent them to shops, and then you bought the computer and took it home. I think they had some products like that, but they also had this, their main customers would design the computer to their own specification. So what Dell would have is it would have places in the US where it would assemble its computers, and you could just say, okay, this is the screen size I want, this is the, do I want a touch screen, this is my hard drive, this is, do I need a CD drive, do I not need that, what other specifications? So you would put a list, like a menu, and you would put 10 or 15 different things that you had in your dream computer. Then you order it from Dell. Dell would put together your exact computer that you wanted to have, specifications, and then send it to you. So this was a kind of a radical idea. Obviously, it's really customized. That's a process innovation and product, because you now don't have to be limited by the choices that are available in the shop. So there was process and product innovation, and Dell was a leader, and it was also cheaper for them because they didn't have to waste, they could buy the parts, but they didn't have to waste any computers that were already made. So their inventory was actually lower, and it cut their costs. It gave the customers something unique, customized computers, and it also was a way, it was good, you know, they were able to market it very well. And so Dell really had a great advantage for a while for PCs. Apple obviously has their Apple's way of managing their customers is to tie them together with the apps and to make their products hard to use with PCs. So if you have one Apple thing and then you're like, I can't mix it with my PC, you have to match it with another Apple product, especially if you use a MacBook, then you have to have iTunes so you can upload stuff to your iPhone or your iPod using that. So it's really, Apple has got a way of, their innovation is, and you know, in some ways it's trapping you as a customer. And there should be some kind of maybe ethical questions in there. But that's how they do it. So that's Apple has really tied you into their system. They've created a system that you're stuck in. Dell created a customized ordering and distribution system. So those are two different kinds of innovations.
Therefore, creates a competitive advantage. Apple, for instance, creates a high perceived customer value with its innovative new products. And Dell reduces its costs and working capital through build-to-order processes. But even though its importance is undisputed, there are many misconceptions about innovation. 3 myths are particularly pervasive. First, innovation stems from ideas nobody has had before. Second,
right, and innovation is not an invention. Okay, I'm just highlighting that. And innovation is an improvement, not only an invention.
Big success requires big resources. And third, innovation breakthroughs are always based on fascinating technologies. Luckily, they are all wrong. IBM did not invent the personal computer. Apple did not invent MP3 technology. And Amazon did not invent the online bookstore. Successful innovators learn and recombine, whereas the pioneers get eaten by the wolves. Cisco had virtually non-existent R&D.
Okay, so that's exactly what I was saying before. It's a pioneer. That's the one who comes up with the original invention or innovation. They often get the timing wrong, right? And somebody else is able to figure the market out better from your mistakes. It's a sad truth.
Get eaten by the wolves. Cisco had virtually non-existent R&D resources, but out-innovated the largest research lab in the world, AT&T's Bell Labs. 14 of today's 25 most innovative firms have innovated their business model, and not just their technology. Take firms such as Google, Amazon, or eBay. Great algorithms, yes, but it is the business model, not just the technology, that is responsible for their success. So, what exactly is a business model innovation? A business model provides answers to 4 questions. Who is your target customer? What do you offer to the customer? How do you create the value proposition? And how do you generate revenue?
All right, so, you know, what is this again? I think that's important.
Responsible for their success. So, what exactly is a business model innovation? A business model provides answers to 4 questions. Who is your target customer? What do you offer to the customer? How do you create the value proposition? And how do you generate revenue? And a business model innovation changes at least 2 of these 4 dimensions. In our research, we've looked at all major business model innovations in the past 50 years. They have all revolutionized one or several industries. For instance, IKEA has redefined the way we buy furniture. TomTom has transformed the navigation business, or eBay has changed the world of trade. Yet only 10% of these business model innovations were novel and introduced new business model patterns. The other 90% merely adapted, refined, or combined these patterns. For instance, innovative companies often apply creative imitation. They ask themselves, how could a business model innovation from another industry revolutionize our own industry? In total, we have identified 55 business model patterns that are responsible for all business model innovations. For example, flat rate, Supermarket, rent instead of buy, experience selling, e-commerce, or the razor and blade pattern?
Razor and blade pattern, I'll give us some information there. Yeah, so different combinations of models. It's very creative, right? You can take something from, who knows how they came up with the Mobi-phone, the scratch card, the card you could top up. Maybe they took it from a different country. Then gaming. Gaming now has cards where you can scratch off and top up, to put into the game if you don't have a credit card. So the whole thing kind of developed out of like, how do we come up with a way to get out of the credit card system? But this was also coming from lotteries. I remember the first time I saw a card where you had to take a coin and scratch off was maybe in the 1980s, and then maybe, I don't know, 70s or 80s. And then you have a lottery, if you scratch off, and if you win, you get 3 lemons, you win this much. You get 3 cherries or apples, you win this much. So you would pay $1 for a lottery ticket. The lottery ticket would be this thing that you have to rub off, and then, you win or lose. And that was their system, and they could, figure out how to make them secure through like some codes or whatever. And the same is true from your phone cards. You can see there's codes on there. So they use the whole system of something else, I think the lottery system really, and then applied that to being able to sell phone cards. So business model innovation.
Let's have a look at this one. Since 1904, Gillette has been giving away razors for next to nothing, but selling its blades at obscenely high prices. Nespresso creatively imitated this pattern, selling cheap coffee machines and expensive coffee, and revolutionized the coffee industry. And many other companies applied the razor and blade pattern too. Remember Apple's iTunes, Amazon's Kindle, or Hewlett-Packard's inkjet printers?
So there's an example, yeah, the Kindle, right? So they want you to buy ebooks online. So in order to get you to buy ebooks, they give you a very cheap e-reader. So that'll cost what? They'll sell it to you for $100, less than $100. Then you compare that to the price of your phone or something else where you'll spend like, hundreds of dollars, and you think, okay, $79, I've got an e-reader. Now I'm kind of, it's a little bit innovative the way that it's designed, and that makes me look cool because I have an e-reader. But now, the only way I get books is from Amazon. Ta-da! Now you're hooked in. So just like that razor blade system, you guys don't really shave enough, but they'll give you the initial blade for the Gillette, or like one blade, and the handle, the cheap plastic handle, they'll give you for a reasonable price. But the next time you want to buy 20 blades, or 10 blades, or 5 blades, it'll be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Razors are a scam, and they're very expensive. And Gillette has probably got the best scam in the history of the world for doing that. So it's tying things together. The other example they're giving here is called the inkjet. Like I bought my HP computer. When did I buy that? I bought my HP computer, the last one in like 2016 or something. And the printer, they gave us a printer. It's only less than $100 to get a printer, a whole printer. I brought the printer all the way back to Vietnam. Now it's impossible to get ink for it, right? It's very expensive to get ink. And I don't even use the printer anymore because it's too expensive for me to use it. Oh well, but that was the idea. You get us into, wow, something people were thinking about having in their house is my own printer. And then you have your printer, and then you find out it's quite expensive to run. It's a complicated thing. So that's business. It's again kind of a tying you into something.
Now, what do you have to do to innovate your business model? We advise you to follow 4 steps: initiation, ideation, integration, and implementation. During initiation, you analyze your current business model. Again, who is your target customer? What do you offer to the customer? How do you create the value proposition? And how do you generate revenue? During ideation, you confront this business model with the 55 business model innovation patterns and develop new models. How will Nespresso conduct your business? Or is there a match between your product and the experience selling pattern? Challenge your basic assumptions and the dominant logic of your industry. But don't try to reinvent the wheel. Instead, use analogies and learn from other industries. During integration, you need to check the consistency of the business model. This is important detail work where you examine all 4 questions regarding organizational fit. Finally, during implementation, it is time to awaken the beast. But be careful. In iterative cycles, you design a business model, build a pilot, test the pilot, and return to the design phase. It is important to not only gain qualitative and quantitative data to verify or falsify your assumptions about your new business model, but also not to forget about the soft factors of innovation. Thanks to incorrect management behavior and organizational resistance, more than 70% of all change initiatives fail. Therefore, keep a few rules in mind. First, only implement one business model at a time. Second, clearly communicate the new business model and the need for change. Third, don't overemphasize short-term KPIs. Innovation needs time. Fourth, get top management commitment. Without their sponsorships, business model innovation is